Guess what? We're live. We're live. Live. I wouldn't blame anybody for not listening after that. Welcome to the MMAngst Podcast, episode 17. I am your host, as always, Ben Cohn. I am the best, the only one who can lead every one of these MMA fans who listen to us down the path to knowing things about MMA.
Not really.
About me. Shut up, Dick. Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to bring demons to this podcast, okay?
Mute yourself. As always, it's my host joining me, Alejandro Castellanos.
Castellanos.
Yeah, that. You can introduce yourself now, sir.
I'm Alejandro Castellanos Jaramillo. Hi, how is everyone doing? I'm doing this on a fucking cell phone, and this is terrifying.
Well, his Bluetooth is shit.
Yep.
Anyway, first off, I'm going to actually do this correctly. Guys, if you listen and, you're fans of the show, please, get the word out. We would love to grow our audience, have some more people join the family of angsty MMA talk. Share this on your Facebook, on Twitter, whatever you got, share it because, word of mouth is definitely the best way to go when it comes to podcasts like these.
Especially when you don't have money for marketing.
Yeah. We don't have money for healthcare over here, so. But yeah, do your best to just share it with whoever you got. Put it on your Facebook, put it on your Twitter. We really would appreciate any and all support you can give us. Like I said in a couple of the other ends of the podcast, as we grow, we'll be able to do more things for our audience, take audience questions. I don't know. I know all these podcasts do Patreons and shit like that. Maybe we'll do one of those, but would love to, get a T-shirt with a little monito on it or some cups. Fuck, I want to drink a mug with little monito on it. So please share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter at MMAngstP is on Twitter. Mixed Martial MMAngst Podcast on YouTube. Just help us out if you can. Moving on, we're going to talk about UFC 235. We're going to recap that.
The sadness.
The sadness, indeed. It's crazy because, we talk about cards, they say, oh man, this card is so deep and all that shit, or the card is so shallow, and then they turn out being amazing, and then you have a deep card like this, and you have two less than exciting fights, I guess, at the top, even though they're two title fights. Granted, one of them was relevant, and the other one was there. We had Ben Askren versus Robbie Lawler, which was fun. Let's just talk about that.
Let's talk about that one.
I am going to go off. All right, let's jump into it. Mute yourself. We're a professional outlet here. Jon Jones defeated Anthony Smith 48-44 across the board, which means he got a 10-8 round and a 2 points taken off for an illegal knee strike. And Anthony Smith.
Nobody surprised.
I love that the two times Jones has come closest to losing his title in a way, realistically, were Chael Sonnen against Chael Sonnen, where his toe broke and completely almost separated from his foot, and he didn't realize. And if it went to round 2, it would have been stopped, and it would have been a TKO win for Sonnen. And the time where he now almost pulled a Matt Hamill. So
Jones cannot seem to get out of his own way. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Even in fights.
For sure. And it's just one of those things where it's just really funny to me. It would have been the most Jon Jones way to lose his title, right? There's no a decision or whatever. No, the most Jon Jones way to lose his fight, illegal knee and DQ.
Yeah, that would make sense. Considering everything as a whole, yeah, that would make the most sense.
He would have lost that title by a picogram.
Yeah. But I think I saw something in this fight.
We'll go on.
What?
We'll go on.
Yeah. I think Jon Jones is a very, like, this is gonna sound not unkind. I mean, this is going to sound unkind, but I think Jones is a very capable fighter. But as far as his skill set goes, he seems, in my opinion, to have reached his peak technical. Like, he's at his apex right now. I don't know that he gets better than this unless he starts incorporating more wrestling. Because right now, I think I said this elsewhere, that Jon Jones is like Jeff Bezos in that he manages you into wanting to die, but he never really kills you. He just has you there for as long as possible. And it does seem that he has evolved into this very somewhat emphasis on somewhat technical fighter that nevertheless has very poor defensive fundamentals. But people cannot get there because his reach is his defense, and he works so often to sort of just enforce it, that if you had someone of comparable athleticism and actual decent boxing fundamentals, somebody that can be as busy as Jones, you would have an interesting fight because he would have to rely more on his wrestling. But as of now, it does seem that we have seen peak Jones as a sort of meat and potatoes boxer that sort of throws crazy strikes from time to time. But even those crazy strikes are things that he has drilled so much. So really, Jon Jones has become a drilled striker. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is peak Jon Jones. It doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, so I think we had this argument last night. I think peak Jones, we've already seen peak Jones. I think this version of Jones, there's no question he's more technical, and he puts an emphasis on technical striking.
Yes.
But I think the best Jon Jones was the one in his initial title run. I think that Bader, Hua, Rampage Jackson, Machida, Evans, Belfort was the most dangerous, scary, best version of Jon Jones. I mean, the version, it's just one of those things where it's like he's one of those fighters who's gotten less. He's less dangerous as he's gotten more technical. Like, I want to put, like, let me just point out his initial run. He submits Ryan Bader. He TKOs Mauricio Shogun Hua. He submits Quentin Jackson. He submits Lyoto Machida. Decisions Rashad. Submits Belfort. Submits Shannon. Then he has his decision wins against Gustafsson, Teixeira, Cormier, OSP, the no contest versus Cormier, TKO's Gustafsson, and now decisions Anthony Smith. A gassed, like completely out of ideas, Anthony Smith, where he almost needed to knee him in the head illegally in order to get a finish.
Yes, but let me add something to that. All of that is true, but in order to be a better fighter, you don't necessarily have to be the scariest fighter or the best finisher. As I said, like, Jon Jones manages you into wanting to die, but doesn't quite get you there anymore. Because he doesn't quite have to. Like, he could have relied on his wrestling more and just ground the guy to dust, but he didn't do that because he fights in a very safe way. But
he doesn't. Here's the thing. Like a guy like GSP, right? He fought in a safe way because he also needed to, because skill for skill, like, he couldn't beat you on the feet without the wrestling, right? Like, he couldn't beat you around without the striking. You know, everything was needed. Mute yourself. Everything was needed in order to implement the other portions of his game. Jones is better than everyone in the clinch. Jones is better than everyone when he's on top. He does not need to do a lot of the things he does. He doesn't need to strike on the feet in order to implement his wrestling, because his striking game is not conducive to implementing his wrestling game. In fact, it's the opposite. It keeps him out of wrestling and clinch exchanges because he fights long, because that's just the way he's been taught to, despite the fact that he should be a pressure fighting. He should be a pressure moving forward, striking into the clinch guy, and he's not. And I, this was on. We were talking on Twitter. Lucas Bordone, shout out to my boy we were talking about it. We were talking. It was a brief conversation, but he was showing how how much Jones would benefit from just fighting. Either if he's going to stay in the States, going to King's MMA and learning how to pressure fight and get in the clinch and clinch fight to get and work the ground and pound, obviously, and all that stuff, or just ship him to Thailand for a year. And he's right. Like Jones has limited himself immensely with the camp he's chosen, working with Winklejohn, and also with this idea that he's 6'4" with an 84.5-inch reach. He's got to be a long-range striker, right? He doesn't. And he's at his best when he's in close range, just fucking everyone up in the clinch or on the ground. So
yes, but let me add something to that. Let me add something.
I'm saying is that he was way more willing, aside from the Rampage fight, where he was afraid to get in close quarters, the boxing range with Rampage. That's what he was doing to everyone. He was using his clinch. He was using close range tactics to beat everyone. Bader, Hua, Machida, he dominated these guys where he should be, which is using his close range combat skills, which is where he's at his best and his most comfortable. And that's what I'm saying, where I think that Jones then, despite the fact that he's less quote unquote technical, he's pretty much just as defensively sound now as he was then. He's more potent, I guess, in long range, but he's also less potent in the clinch, I would say, and on the ground.
Yes, but I think they made a choice in that they want him to fight as safe as he can. And the way that they think is the safest way they can fight is at long range. And if you notice, that is true because his defensive tactics are not great. Even when backing up, like he doesn't really pivot that much. He just puts his arm forward and sways to the sides, right? Like if you had length and athleticism and actually good takedown defense, because as you said, he does appear to have let go of that or not have put as much emphasis on that part of his game, because that's how he finished Gus, by the way, with wrestling. But he was struggling to take down Anthony Smith. So that tells you that fighting people of the same, as lengthy as him or close, is not the same as fighting people that are smaller than him. The athleticism gap is also significant, in my opinion, because he needs to have those advantages, and those advantages need to be very, very clear, because when he's fighting people that are either somewhat as rangy as he is or as explosive as he is, he has some issues. Because if I'm going to say something that is controversial, and people are going to give me shit for this, but I do not think that Jon Jones is the most talented person that has ever graced MMA. I do not think that his particular skill set is even the best skill set that we have seen in MMA.
Also, no question.
I don't think that. Like, I think he's very good. He started really young and had success very young, but the way that his skills have come together, they are not the best that we have seen. I think the best that we have seen are either GSP, because of the things that he had to overcome, or Demetrius Johnson. And Jon Jones is like a third, like a really like far into the third place.
Can you mute?
I will unmute myself.
I don't know if I'd put DJ up there, just because I personally do not subscribe to the idea that DJ is as good as everyone thinks he is.
Fair enough.
I don't think he was ever pound for pound best. I mean, Naked Gambler on Twitter.
Hearsay.
Yep. He wrote a very, very good article, I think, and he pointed out some very important facts. That, listen, as good as DJ is, his best opponent was Joseph Benavidez, who I love Joby, and he is a legitimately elite fighter. But does he compare to Whitaker? Well, I mean, he only beat him once, in my opinion, but Whitaker beating Romero twice? Does it compare to,
Whitaker beat Romero once.
I know, but on his record. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's wrong.
I know, but even beating Romero once, legitimately. Like,
okay.
There's nothing on his record. That one win alone, like, Romero is just better by far. Henry Cejudo was 3 years into his career when he lost to DJ. just 2 years later, and again, he still lost to DJ, but he won the title. Like,
but you cannot make these assertions with saying he lost, but he won.
Listen,
you know,
the official records.
That is wrong.
That he went from getting finished in the first round to people arguably saying that he won the decision. So
but that's wrong.
I know. So my point is that I think DJ is a little over pushed. Jones.
Okay, fair enough. I will concede that.
So I would say the way I would describe it is both Jones and DJ are similar, though, in the fact that they're both better. The sum of their parts are better than their individual parts, which I cannot say for someone like GSP. GSP was not the sum of his parts are better than his individual parts. No, his wrestling was that fucking good. His striking was that good, but he utilized each one to diffuse his fighters in the other. Like I said earlier, Jones, the sum of his parts are better, but he's also like his grappling, right? Once he's on top, nobody's better than him. There is no one in MMA who's better than Jones once he's on top. I think we can agree on that.
It depends on what we mean by better, because
damage.
Yes, no, but it depends. Again, it depends, because everything that Jon Jones does or has done, it comes colored in the era of MMA that he came into, because he represented a very specific specific kind of challenge for people, in that he had a very unusual frame and he had a very high end athleticism. So people are not used to that. Like, he's still above and beyond his competition based just on that. But as we see him further, like, showing us more and more and more and more in terms of just records of his activities, we have come to see somebody that has again, controversial, an okay skill set that is magnified or amplified, however you want to say it, by the fact that he has this frame and this athleticism, but he has not evolved as much as people say he has, I believe. And I'm not trying to hate on him, because he's the
same. He's again the same guy who's decided. You gotta mute yourself.
I'm sorry.
Guy who wanted to be. Jones has an obsession with being the best, right? And his way of doing that is he's trying to become more and more technical, again, quote unquote technical. And he's not. He's more technical offensively. His defense is still kind of shit. He's developed tools to mitigate that bad defense while not actually addressing the issue that is at hand, which is his bad.
Yeah, but I do think, I'm sorry. Let me say something. Can I say something? No, I don't know that he's necessarily evolving even on the feet anymore. He's getting better, but I think that we have hit a point of limited returns with Jon Jones, and I don't think that he's. Yes?
That's it. There's no reason why he should stop evolving. The only reason he stopped evolving is because he refuses to change camps to a camp that will actually teach him more things. Can you imagine Jones learning an RDA style of pressure fighting? Think about that.
No, that would be good, except that he still needs to outpoint you from outside, because he doesn't have the power to finish you just from a few punches like RDA does.
RDA has how many finishes how many finishes with strikes? Seriously.
That's a fair point. But I don't know that Jon Jones leads himself to that style.
RDA is an attritive fighter just like Jones. I'm sorry. Like, seriously. He has 1 TKO in the past 4 years.
Fair argument.
Sorry, 5 years. His last TKO was Donald Cerrone with a body kick, shockingly. Body kick and punches. And before that, it was Benson Henderson with a flying knee and then eventually a punch finished him. And then he TKO'd Jason Mack. Like, he decisioned Nate Diaz. He decisioned Anthony Pettis. He decisioned Tarek Safadine. He submitted Neil Magny, and he decisioned Robbie Lawler. He's not a power puncher, and that's something that's like misconstrued. He hits hard, and so does Jones. Jones hits hard. He hurt Anthony Smith with a punch. if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yes, but he actually did it more than once. But Jones is significantly larger than Anthony Smith too. That
Again,
counts.
but that's not the crux of my argument. The crux of my argument is we're talking about how his style that he developed is honestly it goes against his nature and his personality, which wants to be a pressure fighter, and B, he's naturally has an affinity for pressure fighting and
Who,
damaging.
Jones?
Yeah,
I don't know that he's naturally a pressure fighter. I think that he's very comfortable with being ahead, but he doesn't care how. I think he doesn't really. I think that he's chosen the things that make him more comfortable.
No, I think he's been told you're an outfighter, and that's why he's an outfighter.
Okay. I can say that is an argument that makes sense, but it is hard to say unless we speak to him and speak to Winklejohn and the people that train him.
Started, he was a natural pressure fighter who moved forward and did his best work in the clinch and on the ground, and he completely moved away from that as time went on and more time was spent learning how to outfight.
Yes, but that's a shift that you see from most fighters. They start one way and then they end up a different way.
I mean, I disagree. Most coaches, I would say, good coaches know their fighters and know how to bring the best out of them. Jackson Wink doesn't. We didn't talk at all about this fight, did we? We just talked about Jon Jones.
Because this fight is about Jon Jones. Because what Anthony Smith, okay, I don't want to be dismissive, but we had an idea going into this fight about how it was going to go. And this idea of him having this lion heart, which he does, playing a huge part in it. And what the part that it played was that it allowed him to get beat up more. It allowed him to get kneed in the head when he didn't have to, right? Because his corner should have thrown the towel by then because the guy had no idea of how to get out of these positions that he was in.
Right.
Like he simply ran out of options. You could see that this is not a man that gives up. So what's happening here is that he has run out of options. He started out well. He had a good round one and round two for the expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that he's not a good fighter or that he's not, but we knew what he was getting into.
Yep.
And even when he said, I let Jon Jones do things. No, you didn't let Jon Jones do things. Like Jon Jones did things to you because he's just that much better than you. He just has more tools. Like if there are like check boxes that you have to sign in order to see how fights are going to go, you see, well, who is taller, who is heavier, who hits harder, who is more athletic, who has a longer scholastic background, who has more experience, who is older. Jon Jones checks all those boxes. So the fact that he couldn't finish him tells you that Anthony Smith is a very durable guy. But when you look at his corner, at some point they stopped giving him concrete technical advice and they just tell him, you have seen everything, be you, literally go and beat Jon Jones by being Anthony Smith. Let your lion come out. And the same thing, like self-help stuff that maybe that goes far in other scenarios, but not in this one. That's not going to help you here. And I think that this fight should have been stopped in the third. Like, he shouldn't have come out for the fourth, much less for the fifth. There were points where he was clearly out of options, clearly exhausted, clearly just taking punishment for the sake of it, because the ref won't stop it and his corner won't stop it. So, as you have said elsewhere in a different podcast, in a different episode of the podcast, this is how people die. Like this stupid mentality that I am going to go out there and prove my worth by taking punishment. Like, nah, this wasn't, like, I understand that honor is a big thing for the guy, so he's not going to quit, but his corner has to do it for him. He had nothing to give past round 2. Round 3, he got his ass kicked. Round 4, he got his ass further kicked. And in round 5, Jon Jones grew tired of punching him. And that's what we can say about this fight.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, like, I will say that I think part of the reason why I was so frustrated was that Smith had success whenever he decides to throw anything more than a punch while moving forward against Jones, because Jones just backs up and goes like, I'm going to stretch my long ass arms out. And Smith was landing. And in classic Anthony Smith fashion, decided, I know this thing is working. I'm going to not do that thing. So,
well, I'm not sure it's that. It's that he was deterred from doing that thing because he was getting hit often. For every, like, Jon Jones is very managerial, I have said elsewhere, and he just managed him into inactivity.
You got to let me finish, man.
I apologize.
I understand that Jones was kicking him in the legs. I understand that Jones was trying to deter him with the body shots. But the bottom line is that when you're the only thing you're having success with is moving forward and landing punches in combination, and you have to do it. It doesn't matter anymore. That's it. Like, I understand. And his corner, for all the shit they were getting with the technical advice, they're not going to out-technique Jon Jones because the Anthony Smith just doesn't have that to do. He doesn't have that ability. So you have to fight the fight that makes sense. Them saying you've now felt everything he has, you have to move forward. That was the right advice. There was at no point where Anthony Smith should have been moving backwards. Like, from the start of the fight, he was not moving forward. And that's bad game planning. That's bad cornering. Not bad cornering. That's bad game planning. If your game plan is not to push Jones back and throw punches at his head and body, you're not doing it right. And while Smith started out nicely, he stopped. He completely stopped. He let Jones deter him. You cannot let Jones deter you, because if you fall back into the fight he did, we saw what happened. He got beat up for 5 rounds. So
yes, that is a good point. Also, I'm going to say something that is going to add to your good point. You did not. I don't think you finished the Sabit fight.
Nope.
But at some point, Dominic Cruz and Jeremy Stephens' corner said the exact same thing you're saying, that even if you're getting hit, you have to move forward, because if you stay outside, you're still going to get hit. So you have to fight the fight that will give you the best results regardless of your status, so to speak, because you're going to get hit anyways. So that's a good point that you're making.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's actually been a lot of my points for a lot of the fights I watch. In particular, is just that I watch fighters and coaches, and like the corners in MMA are not great. I'm sorry, like a lot of corners just, and I'm not.
They have a lot of catching up to do. Let's put it that way.
Just in conceptual points, like when you see your fighter having zero success, right? Let's say you game plan for 2 months and your game plan is just not working, right? You need to be able to tell your fighters, this isn't working. We have to do something different. We have to do something, especially if you see that there is success in the fight doing something else. If you're just getting your ass kicked completely, yeah, try something different. Try moving forward. Try backing up. Try something. Make them come to you, whatever it might be. But if the only time you're ever having success is moving forward and throwing punches in combination, and you're doing anything else and getting your ass kicked, change shit up. Don't do the thing that's getting your ass kicked. You're tired. Yes. It hurts. Yes. You're not winning the fight if you don't do this. So go. If you want it, go. Do it. And
yes, but that is a very difficult thing to do. Like I agree with you.
I'm not saying it's not difficult. I know it being fighting Jon Jones is not fucking fun. I'm not saying it's easy. What I'm saying is that coaches don't do it enough. And when we get to talking to Tyron Woodley and Darren versus Kamaru Usman, I am going to give credit to Dean Thomas, because he tried his hardest to get Tyron to stop backing up. And he was yelling at him from round 2.
But he was sad. He wasn't in this night. I'm going to make excuses for him.
We're going to talk about it right now. We're talking about Jones versus Smith already. Just a reminder, share with your friends. Podcast, friends, send it to them. Get us a bigger audience. All right.
Give us validation.
Tyron Woodley versus Kamaru Usman. Tyron Woodley got the shit kicked out of him. And
yes,
he did his usual thing, moving back to the fence, try and counter. He didn't look himself. I don't know why. I don't want to make excuses for Tyron, because Kamaru looked amazing this is what 100% Kamaru Usman looks like.
I am here to make excuses for Tyron Woodley.
Hold on. I'm going to take away all your excuses because this wasn't even 100% Kamaru Usman. Because the second the fight was over, he was limping.
Yes, he came into this fight injured.
He came into this fight. He was wearing a boot on his foot for like the week before the fight. He could not walk without a boot on his foot. He has a fractured foot or something.
75% Kamaru Usman?
Not even. One-legged Kamaru Usman is a better way of putting it.
60% Kamaru Usman?
I think we might have just seen 30% Kamaru Usman again.
Oh, that's the guy that fought Emil Mack.
Okay, fine. 50%. Kamaru Usman is a...
Yes, he is a very scary individual when you're fighting him.
Now, I was talking to a friend and they were like, "Oh, I'm picking Kamaru Usman." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I think he has the striking to trouble Woodley from the outside."
Like,
What? Exactly. I had the same reaction. I'm like, "No." And then he proceeded to beat the shit out of Woodley, and I'm like, and then he's like, "I picked Usman." I'm like, "Yeah, but you picked him for striking reasons. You didn't say you would out wrestle him." So, still wrong.
Yeah.
No, it was very, very crazy to watch Woodley get big brother that way. Like, he was the big brother of the division, and he just got big fucking brothered.
It was very unsettling to watch. I did say, and Bilal called me out for this, that you always give Cuddy shit, but you're making excuses for Woodley, and I am going to make excuses for Woodley. I do think he was injured, but what I didn't say then is that I think Usman injured him during the fight.
Oh, the ribs.
Yeah, I do think he injured his ribs during the fight because of the body work that Kamaru was doing.
Yeah.
Because it was so constant, and I loved every second. Okay, I'm in pain, like psychological pain, because I love Tyron Woodley, and I love that he was like this thorn on Dana's ass. And now he has Kamaru Usman, who is a good guy, and I like him too, but he's not that, right? So it's baffling in a way because I don't know what happened, because he should have seen that coming. It's not like Usman did something that he never does, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we saw Usman impose the same game he's imposed on other fighters, but he imposed it on Tyron Woodley.
Exactly. Yankee striking and all.
That's what's so scary, because we didn't see him really add many new wrinkles. In fact, I don't think we saw him add any new wrinkles. This was just Kamaru Usman with a broken fucking foot, taking out the second greatest welterweight of all time, arguably. And he did it
yes,
easily. That's insanity.
Well, I don't think that it was necessarily easy. It looked easy.
No, I don't. You know what I meant. I didn't mean it was like, oh, I had a sparring session with a guy who just started working in the gym like 2 weeks ago. Like, no, I mean like the shit out of him for 5 rounds with virtually no danger or damage taken.
But there was danger. There was danger in the 4th round when they started exchanging stupidly, when they didn't have to. But other than that, it was a wash.
And I thought Usman gassed himself out, and then he comes out looking exactly the same in the 5th. His cardio is unreal.
Yeah, he's like a Nigerian Cain Velasquez. I like him.
But he's also better than Cain Velasquez.
His striking is not better. Be quiet.
His grappling is.
Oh, his grappling is, because I think like he was an Olympic alternate. So his grappling is definitely better, but his striking and his choices are not.
I don't know if he was an Olympic alternate.
I think they said that during the broadcast, but I might be mistaken. I do think that they mentioned that, but I wasn't aware of that.
Hold on, let me see.
And
nothing about the Olympics. He earned he was a D2 All-American.
D2? He wasn't even D1?
No, he wasn't D1. That doesn't mean much though in terms of like MMA credentials. But he only fought. Yeah, he was only. So,
what's happening?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good.
Okay.
My apologies.
You are excused.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we have a new welterweight champion in Kamaru Usman. First of all, congratulations. Excellent fight. Excellent job. The fight sucked to watch, not going to lie. It wasn't fun.
No, it was interesting, but not necessarily fun.
That's what I mean. I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying it wasn't intrigued. I actually was fascinated by the fight itself, but it wasn't fun.
Well, it had its.
Listen,
it's interesting because of the technical aspect of it, but
it wasn't fun. You would never show that fight to a casual fan and say, like, you're going to love this.
No, you showed him the Cody fight.
Yes, exactly. We'll get there. Overall, I think it was very interesting. I don't know if there's much to say other. Excuse me.
Burp.
Yep. Look, there was a lot of interesting stuff. I love how Usman did a really good job of shutting down Woodley in the clinch completely. Those body shots added up, and his ground control was off the charts. The way he grapefined the legs was beautiful from Mount, and it really, really fucked with Woodley, and it was fantastic work. In the clinch specifically, Woodley, on the other hand, I was very disappointed in his wrestling. He did not drive at all on any of his takedown attempts. Like he would reach for the hips. Usman would start the sprawl, and Woodley.
But he was tired.
Again, so now this comes back to my point before. Dean Thomas is yelling at Tyron Woodley. This is
put your forehead forward.
He said, and that's perfect corner advice. It wasn't a technical. There was nothing.
No, that's correct.
Like that was just the right call. Like move forward. You're losing because you're moving back. You're giving him the space he needs to work. You're letting him take you down. Move forward. Don't do it. And he just didn't. It was crazy.
Yes.
So, first of all, credit Thomas. But man, Woodley shot the bed.
Well, he got his ass kicked. I think that what happened with Woodley is something that happens with bad boxers. Now, I was having this argument with Bilal about a hierarchy of striking. Do you remember that argument?
No.
Yeah, it was about boxing when Barbarina was fighting Luque. And I told him that you should aim for the body early. Okay. And that's what Usman did. He tired him so quickly. And Woodley just ran out of ideas so fast because I think that he lived his nightmare. And his nightmare, as has been pointed out elsewhere, I'm not the first one to mention this, is running out of gas mid-fight. So he fights in this extremely managed style, like this aggression that he has to keep bottled up because he is afraid of just shooting his load and having nothing left. But that happened to him, but it was done by somebody else because he targeted the body. He had a strategy, a very MMA-focused strategy, not boxing-wise, but he aimed for the body early. He took away his cardio, and then he just made him live this horrible, horrible situation that would just be prolonged on and on and on until I was surprised that he actually made it to the end of the fight, to be honest.
You were surprised that he made it to the end of the fight? I wasn't. I mean, I didn't think he was going to finish him, but
I thought he was going to get finished, or that his corner, because I thought Duke Rufus was there, was not going to let him go out and get further pummeled for no reason at all, because he wasn't doing what he was being told to do. And he was trying, but they told him to try uppercuts, he tried them. When they told him to try kicking, he tried it, but he was so extremely inactive, and he was not listening to his corner. That's kind of like a rookie move, but Tyron Woodley is not a rookie, so he was just so exhausted that he would much rather go out there and get his ass kicked than quit on the stool, pretty much. And yeah, that's what happened to him. Sadly, that's what happened to him. I think that Usman just took his tools away so quickly, and he had no way of coming back from that.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to say?
Just one more thing.
Sure.
Kamaru Usman has the most soothing voice. Like that man has a second career as an audiobook reader. Like yes, he does. Have you heard him speak?
No, I'm serious.
He sounds so didactic. Like as somebody that has actually taught, like being in a classroom on the receiving end and on the giving end, like that is he has a very didactic voice. Like I am entertained when he speaks.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, so let's see. Let's move on to the thing that made me more angry than anything last night.
Oh boy, here we go.
You're gonna need to mute yourself for this, buddy, because this is gonna be fun. Ben Askren.
I'm gonna be laughing though.
Yeah, that's fine. You can laugh. Ben Askren
Got his ass kicked.
Yeah, Ben Askren got his ass kicked, and using a bulldog choke, got Robbie Lawler in a bad position. And it was not pleasant, I'm sure. He's probably got a solid squeeze. And Herb Dean, was doing his job as a ref. He saw Robbie's hand fall, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I thought he was out too. Then again, I couldn't see this part. He then proceeds to check Robbie Lawler's hand to see if he was limp.
He gave him a thumbs up.
He gave him a motherfucking thumbs up. Herb Dean didn't even wait. Herb Dean didn't even wait to see if the arm was limp before he stopped the fight. Herb Dean is a fucking bad ref. Okay? Listen, I am not trying to say that Herb Dean's a bad person, but he's a shit ref. And
he's certainly seen better days.
Yes. Has he though? Because he really fucking sucks. Motherfucker had to check the goddamn replay 3 times before taking 2 points away from Jon Jones from a blatantly illegal knee. But motherfucker couldn't wait 2 seconds to see if Robbie Lawler's hands falls down.
Well, I have a question. Can you see a replay to see like whether the guy was finished or not?
Not on a stopper.
Jesus.
Which is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Like, there should be, like, Robbie Lawler is going to appeal this. The Nevada State Athletic Commission is not going to overturn it. And
dude, they just might. Let me interject because I'm going to say something funny. Do you remember? Well, you probably don't remember Celine Haga. Celine Haga was the girl that was in a 10-fight losing streak. She put it all together and then went on a win streak in Invicta. Well, the last fight she fought, she lost. And the exact opposite thing of what happened to Robbie Lawler happened to her. She literally put the girl to sleep. And then the bell rang. And then the fight wasn't stopped. They went to the scorecards and she lost.
Huh.
But here, it had the complete opposite happened. The guy wasn't... It was the beginning of the fight. The guy was in a tight choke. And the fight was stopped for no reason. I mean, I can understand the initial freak out, right? By Herb Dean, like, holy shit, his arm just dropped. So that's why you wiggle the arm to see what's happening. And when you get the thumbs up, you should let it go. See what happens. But he didn't. He wiggled the arm, got the thumbs up, and he was like, you know what? This is over.
I'm not on this. I'm going to just be professional. Say fuck you, Herb Dean.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
Fuck you, Herb Dean.
No, it's bad. Don't be bad.
But I'm right. Okay, and we need to move on. Robbie Lawler looked incredible. He looked
great.
He looked like Brutal Bob was back.
Yeah, he put hands on Askren. I don't think I've ever seen Askren get hit that many times.
But he's never been thrown like that.
True.
You got a fucking torture rack suplex thing going on.
But credit to him, he stayed in there. He stayed composed.
Credit to him for that. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was a fun fight and it was shaping up to be awesome. And then but now he's like fucking tweeting on Twitter and shit like that. Like,
he's talking shit to Usman for fighting like a bitch. quote unquote. Like what? Wow, okay. I'm not gonna say anything there, but that is a bad thing to say to Kamaru Usman, considering your past history of fights. You there?
Yeah, I'm just pissed.
Yeah, well,
It's such a bullshit because that's not how Robbie Lawler's return should come. Like, that's not. I know we're going to move on because there's really not much to talk about. Like, Robbie looked great. He beat the shit out of Askren. Amazing that Ben Askren survived. He did his thing in the grinding grappling, and that bulldog choke was not even under the neck. And it's just. All right, I'm going to let you gush about Weili Zhang now. Go ahead.
she's amazing. I love her. She's so sweet. And when she beat Tisha Torres at the end, she even invited her. There was a small moment that was caught on camera before she gave her post-fight interview, and she was actually like holding Tisha's hand, I think, and talking to her, the interpreter, to come over because she wanted to congratulate her on her effort, and she invited her to Beijing to train with her. That was so sweet. First, second, she's amazing. Like she's legit A plus striker. Um, Tisha Torres is also, but the problem with that combination is that Tisha cannot seem to hurt you in fights for whatever reason. Even though she looked
no power, like zero.
yeah, she does look like she can. She has to hit you, clip you, like she has to hit you clean in order to do anything. And she managed to do that against Namajunas in their second fight, and then Namajunas recovered. So maybe she can't hurt anybody, and that's a problem because even though she kept having these openings, she had no weapon to deter Zhang from coming forward. So it's like fighting your little brother, right? Like you're just fighting him and he's trying to hit you, but nothing he does will ever make you change anything you're doing because everything is working and everything your little brother is doing is not working because you're just larger. So he can do anything. That is kind of how it felt. When Zhang started getting takedowns, even though Torres reversed them, I just figured that she's not gonna get any success going because how fights should be judged is on damage. And the problem with Torres is that she doesn't do enough damage. And when she fights strikers that are of a comparative level of technical development, damage makes all the difference. And she cannot dish any. So it was just a matter of time, really. And exactly what I thought would happen happened, which is sad because I like Torres a lot. But if she cannot hurt you, what is she going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, she can't hurt you. That's the problem. That's always been a big problem for her, is that she
Like,
has to use her volume to beat you, right? She has to outwork you, and if she can't, she loses.
yeah, but the problem is that she has the skill. The only thing she doesn't have is the strength.
I think she's regressed, and I also think she's also one of those strikers who actually does win like her biggest fights using her wrestling. So, you know,
Yeah. But that I think it's a matter of damage. Like she's really fighting at a weight class that is above her what should be her optimal weight class. The problem is that atom weight there's no money there, so she's not gonna cut down there to go to Invicta and be the atom weight champion.
I mean, you're right, but at the same time, like, you, what's she gonna do? She's not.
Well, she's at a crossroads now because she's on a 2-fight losing streak. I don't know, 2 or 3.
Three.
What?
A 3-fight losing streak.
I mean,
Andrade, Jacek, and Zhang.
yeah, okay, I mean, she's fighting the top end of the division, so I'm not too hard on her for that. My problems is with the fact that she cannot find a way to do anything. She cannot hurt you. That's the problem. Like fights are graded on damage, and she cannot hurt her opponent.
No, I get it.
So that's pretty much her dead end. Like she can improve her footwork, she can improve her wrestling, she can improve her volume, she can improve her accuracy. Like all those things look improved. Like in the very early set of exchanges, she looked on par with Zhang. But as the fight dragged on, Zhang was doing all the damage. Even if her face was swelling, like okay, it's swelling and there's not a drop of blood coming out of her. I don't know why Torres doesn't work in elbows, even for appearance sake, so that she can may cut someone. But yeah, that's her dead end. Like it's not that she's stopped evolving; it's that she cannot do damage, comparative damage, right? So she's not gonna get these fights. Like when she fights a kickboxer, somebody that she cannot take down at will, or someone that can hang with her in the pocket, it's just a matter of time because she's taking and giving none.
I agree.
And that's
I mean, I've always been like way off the Tisha Torres hype train. I've never been like a huge fan of hers just because I don't think.
well, she's really sweet. She's like she's a good person. She's really sweet.
I'm sure I know from what I know, she's a good person and nice person. But I'm talking about like as a fighter.
I know, but why do you really root for fighters anyway?
Not because they're people. Like it can't just be only because they're good people.
Yeah, I mostly just root for fighters based on that. Like, they're good fighters. Like, I like fun fighters.
There's nothing.
But if they're like sweet people, like I have a spot in my heart for poor Cody because he's first of all he seems like a sweet guy when he's not going crazy, and he's earnest and naive, and I kind of feel for him.
Again, I don't think. I'm talking about as a fighter. I've never found her to be interesting in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think she's pretty good. Her problem is that she cannot shine the way she should shine because as her abilities should show because she cannot hurt her opponents. That is the problem. She kind of has this Danielle Taylor problem, right? She sort of fixed it in that she can move around that Neil Taylor could not, but Tisha Torres cannot hurt an opponent unless she clips them right on the button. And that's very, very unlikely. So, yeah, those are the cards she was dealt, and I don't know where she goes from here.
Yeah.
Sadness.
Fuck out of Cody Garbrandt. Garble got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, I have something to say about that might be.
Oh, I know you do.
Oh yeah. Do you want to take it up first, or do I begin?
I'll let you have this.
You're gonna let me? Oh, thank you. Okay, so I am going to invent a concept here that I'm going to call it Garble's Gargle or Garble's Gurgle, in that it tends to happen so often with young fighters that they appear to be uncoachable, that they will do whatever they will do. You know, like he has this, Mike Perry has this. For a little while, Aljamain Sterling had it. In that they just want to do whatever. Like it doesn't matter how much training they do, how far they go in the gym, their technical development. They're just gonna do whatever it feels like it's in their nature, and at some point they're just going to fucking drown.
Right.
And with Cody, it seems like let me say I saw a jab, I saw 1-2, I saw him using managerial techniques in order to trying to stay focused. But at some point, he just flipped the switch and said, fuck it. You know, like, I think that there's also this problem with the MMA culture. Mind you, this is coming from somebody that is not in the MMA culture. This is like from outside, but this idea of that they want to feel like they are quote unquote warriors. And there is this romanticized version of what they are doing. And he has also found himself in an environment where that seems to get fed pretty healthily. Like I remember that Cody was like trying to get at Dominic Cruz, like behind the scenes, like some crazy things, and then Justin Buchholz and Uriah Faber back in the day were like saying, "Yeah, man, Cody's just an animal. He's an alpha. He just goes crazy, man. You have to hold him back." And you're thinking like, well, maybe that makes for good like interviews, but then you see that the same shit is happening mid-fight. Like he just seems to lose it. Like he literally forgets everything, like technically minded, and he just starts winging punches. It's happened to him 3 times in a row. Like how likely is that for someone? Like where have we seen something like this?
Um, Melvin Guillard?
Who?
Melvin Guillard?
Well, yeah, but with Melvin, it was different because Melvin would mind fart. Like he wouldn't go in. He had these moments where he just seemed to stop thinking. Like whatever was working, he would stop and he would sort of freeze and then
Okay.
make a bad choice. But Cody never stops. He just flips a switch and throws everything out the window and he's like, I'm gonna bang. And then he gets knocked out.
Yeah,
And this is like this. Sorry?
he just doesn't have the chin for it. Like honestly, like put it this way: if he had a chin for it, he'd be a lot more successful. But you know, he doesn't. You can continue. It's your garble. Oh no, we lost Alejandro.
Sorry?
He said
Oh, fuck.
you can continue. It's your garble.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I muted myself for thinking I was unmuting myself. No, this is his fourth time. Like the first time he got flatlined. The second time TJ just beat him the hell up, dropped him. The fourth time he wasn't quite dropped, but he got messed up really, really bad. And this time he got dropped again in an awful, awful way by playing this stupid game that he shouldn't even have been playing. Like you can see that he had been training jabs and distance management techniques, and he employed them at some point during the fight. But then this the gargle showed up, and or gurgle, and yeah, and it just went all down the window, down the drain. I'm sorry, or down the window. I don't know. And it kind of makes you wonder where he goes from here. I know, like we come to these moments like that I don't like, where that you seem to love, that just tell people what to do and with their camps. But what does he do? Like, if he's not going to change Team Alpha Male, if he's not going to go somewhere that is going to teach him how to be properly uh, conducted, let's say during a fight, I think he should just take a long layoff and just age out of the gargle. Just age out of it. Become like Chris Levin. Like Chris Levin learned some things by the end of his career.
Certainly.
Like stop taking punishment and stay training, find some sponsorships, do something, but just don't get hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because what does he do now? Like if Uriah Faber cares about this guy, and really he should, because he's the only one that's ever gotten a belt for Team Alpha Male in the UFC. TJ doesn't count.
Why?
So he should hire new people that will coach him, especially that should coach Cody.
No, I think you just go to Trevor Whitman.
No, yeah, but he won't. That's the problem. He won't.
Perillo. Jason Perillo is a type of guy. I think he picks certain fighters. I don't think he works with that many. And he's in Cali, I think, because he worked with Cyborg. So I actually think that would be a good fit, maybe Perillo.
Yeah, Pirillo would be good. The problem is that you need to get Pirillo through Uriah Faber. You know what I mean? Like if Cody gave, like, he kind of shot himself in the foot when he gave shit to TJ for leaving. But now he's in a position where clearly whatever he's doing in Team Alpha Male is not curbing down his tendencies to gurgle. So first of all, he needs a long fucking layoff. He needs to probably the problem with the gurgle is that you do not get coached out of it. You need to age out of it. He's 37 years old, so he should take like a year off, a year and a half off. And honestly, I hope it doesn't sound condescending, but I hope he just takes a year off, keeps training, and just starts reading books. Any books, fiction, non-fiction, whatever, something to occupy his mind with, probably some philosophy, something that will make him mature as a person. You know, broaden his horizons, like get out of this romanticized bullshit of fighting, because that's what is getting him in trouble, because you can tell that he's training, you can tell that he's learning. The problem is that he throws everything out of the window and he just goes nuts. And there's not a lot that you can do for a guy like that. You just have to let him age out of it, I think. So you should stop fighting for a while, take a long sabbatical, keep training.
Oh, of
but
course, gotta keep training. But I think the problem is that he's not improving.
No, here's my point about the Garble's Gargle. He is improving, but not in fighting. He's improving in the gym, but when it comes to fighting, he doesn't show it. Like, he shows hints of it, but then the Gurgle takes over, and he does what he does. He wants to show that he's an alpha. He wants to show that he can take a punch. He wants to show that he can deliver a punch, and he wants to show that he is above everything else. And everything else is whatever is happening at the moment. And he keeps falling, and he keeps taking up damage. Who even knows how he's doing in training, right? Like, what kind of damage he's soaking up in training, but he's fighting like he has the chin that he doesn't. He also had a decent scholastic background in wrestling, and he's not using it either. So that tells us that he's like the anti-Jon Jones, Like, instead of settling for something that worked and just becoming managerial in there, he is throwing his talent out the window, because everything he's learning, he's not employing in any degree that is effective. So yeah, I think with Cody, where he goes next is home. He takes a long layoff and just fucking read. I mean, reading really works. Like, to like, if you cannot travel, which he can do, reading helps a lot. And he should just like broaden his horizons, age out of the gurgle. That's what he should do. Like, I don't think he should be fighting, or at least not for a year and a half or something. Age out of it. Come back in your early 30s, even like early 30s, like late 20s, early 30s, and give it another go. But if you're going to keep doing the same things that are where you're failing, like you're literally repeating the same thing that brings you failure, it's unnecessary. Like, there's no point to this. He has a kid, he has a wife, he has a life out of this. He should focus on that and understand. Rashad Evans and a lot of other fighters have said that once they realized that there was something outside of fighting, they became more mature, more focused on what they had to do. No, he has a kid now. Like, what is he doing? He's throwing his health away for nonsense. So yeah, I think he should just sit down, say nothing, just sit down and enjoy his life for a long while at least before fighting again.
I definitely think he should take some time off. I don't know if he will. I doubt it. In fact, he's probably going to fight like, I don't know. They're probably going to match him with Aldo or something.
And Sun Sao?
Oh yeah,
you evil man.
Oh my god. Anyway, let's move on. Just so everyone's aware, we have been joined by my son Daniel. He's sitting in my lap. So if you hear shit, that's it. We're gonna kind of do some quick hits, I guess, for the prelim card, because this has been a very long. We spent too long talking about Jon Jones, didn't we?
We spent longer than we probably should have.
Yep, but it was a good conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zabit Magomedsharipov defeated Jeremy Stephens. I've only watched round one, but based on that one round, and me hearing that he was gassing, I really want to watch him fight Volkanovski, who I think would push a crazy pace on him.
Yeah, that would be an interesting fight, because that would tell us a lot about Zabit and how he deals with active, insane pressure because there's what Jeremy Stevens brings, which is significant because it did tire Sabit by the second round, and then there is what Volkanovski brings.
But here's the thing: we've seen him gas out against Kyle Bochniak, also. And Bochniak was not pressuring him for most of the fight. He only pressured him in the third, and he slowed down.
Yeah, the cut takes a significant toll on him.
Oh yeah, he's going to need to move up to 155 if we're going to see anything short of a bad gassing. And if he ever somehow gets a fight with Max Holloway,
no, that fight is not going to end well for him because he can have 2 good rounds and then everything is just going to go to shit. That's going to be awful.
But I would love to see him fight Volkanovski, and he's calling out either Volkanovski or Aldo. So yeah, Johnny Walker did Johnny Walker things, and then proceeded to dislocate his shoulder.
Yeah, apparently that last thing you mentioned should be part of Johnny Walker things because he's shown himself to be more of a danger than 3 opponents combined.
Yep. I love that guy. I fucking love him. I'm sorry, I do.
I love him too, but it's a bit unsettling to see that someone would screw himself so hard. Yeah, I think he's dislocated his arm or something.
I don't think he tore anything. I think it was just a dislocation. So that's good. Just so
yeah, in terms of injuries, that's the best one you can have, I guess.
Yes. Let's move on. Cody Stamann defeated Alejandro Perez, who had
sadness. Absolute sadness.
Yes. When they had the media thing, and you got to mute yourself. When they had the media thing, and Alejandro Perez couldn't figure out what to do with his hands. First of all,
don't make fun of him.
I thought it looked like Kyle Bochniak, so I was like, I thought he was fighting Perez. What did I miss? But I was cracking up. That was so good. And then Cody Stamann beat him, so
Yeah, I should say something about that fight because homeboy lost. First of all, the first 2 rounds, the first round was a bit tight, but I gave it to what's his name? Stamann.
Stamann, yeah.
Yeah, to Stamann. Second round, I gave it to Stamann, but round 3, I gave it to Perez. He was actually starting to find his range.
Well, you were the judges.
Yeah, he was pushing the pace more. He won round 3, but I agree that he lost the fight. But he seems like someone that is learning still, and I like that. He said AKA, by the way.
Oh God.
No, don't be a hater. Don't be a hater.
Oh, really? Okay, no problem. Yeah. He's still learning.
Look, yeah, dude, he's learning. He's putting things together. He's just 29 years old.
He's been fighting since 2005.
Yeah, I know. But you have to consider the fact that it's different.
This was it. This was his chance, and he blew it. Sorry.
No, he didn't blow it. He got beat. He got beat. He didn't blow it. You know who blew it? Cody blew it.
Yeah.
Perez got beat. And that's fine. I still appreciate him. I love that guy. He's the winningest Mexican guy that's ever fought in the UFC. So I will always appreciate him for that.
Wow, you're not counting Cam.
No. Well, I count Kane, but Alejandro Perez, I think, comes from Entram Gym. So he represents the developmental stages of Mexican MMA. All the Mexicans that you're seeing right now in the UFC represent those developmental stages. And they should be valued for what they are because there's not a lot of them. Let's be honest, there's not a lot of Mexicans fighting in the UFC as of this point in time. Maybe later down the line, a dude can lose and we can be like, yeah, well, okay, he lost and that's bad. But every time a Mexican shows up and he does well and he adjusts and he doesn't shit the bed, and even if they shit the bed, I'm like, you know what? Thank you for going out and representing and, por la cultura, vato. You have to appreciate. And there's a lot of people that throw negative shit around, and I hope we're not being negative on Cody or people that got their asses kicked.
We're not being negative. No. Sorry, my son grabbed a mug and was about to drop it.
I muted myself.
No, it's fine. Okay, last thing we got to move on. We got to talk about Diego Sanchez TKOing Mickey Gall.
Yes.
Funny as hell to me. Gall had no anything. It was amazing. Like Diego fucking beat the shit out of him, right?
Did you watch the post-fight interview? Because it
No.
was the most un-Diego thing I have ever seen.
What did he do?
He said, I just took it patiently and let him punch himself out. That's what he said.
What the fuck is wrong with Diego?
I don't know. Like he said, like, you know what? I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna let the young guy punch himself out, and then I'm gonna come up alive. I mean, it was like, holy shit! Like that works. I mean, I'm sorry. What?
Kidnapped Diego, and what happened? Where's the real one?
No, but I mean, you still see Diego moving. Like you can see that he's worn. Like this is worn beyond worn. He cannot take a punch anymore. Mickey Gall caught him clean. No, he didn't even catch him clean, and he had him staggered. And again, we don't say this out of a negative place, but Diego cannot take punishment as he used to. Let's put it that way. And Gall was actually much closer than people would give him credit for to finishing Diego. But Gall is fast, and he did not manage himself very well, and made it a grappling exchange the rest of the fight. And that's when he shot the bed, because Diego turns out a very good grappler. Did you know that, Ben?
Oh, I knew this for a long time. I was like,
no, I know, I'm being sarcastic.
Oh yeah. Well, Diego seems to have forgotten it for a really long time, but people forget how fucking amazing Diego was as a grappler. Like he beat the shit out of Mickey on the ground. Pretty handily.
The scrambles, like this is old school, okay? I'm dating myself, but the scrambles that he had with Caro Parisian.
Oh yeah.
That seems it's like, and Mickey Gall wants to be in there.
People forget Diego wasn't just like, oh, no, the dude was an elite top 5 fighter in 2 weight classes almost. Well, top 10 at welterweight and top 5 in lightweight.
Yes, absolutely.
Top 5 for sure.
People make fun of him because okay, let's admit it. He's funny. He says a lot of things.
Listen, the guy is suffering from CTE. There's no question. So it's sad in a way. Like he's always been nuts, but it's gone.
No, it's no. Listen, it's we cannot say it is CTE because Diego has always been this like special. Let's put it that way. No, but he always has been. Like you cannot say that this is CTE. CTE would be him losing his shit and throwing things around, or like becoming violent all of a sudden. No, like the original Diego Sanchez would stop. Would
a lot. His interviews are completely insane. Most of
yes, but we're still talking about a guy that before he got the level of punishment that he has endured up till now, he was talking about meditating during thunderstorms, standing up, because he would absorb the power of the storm.
Yeah, weird shit is weird shit, but we're talking about like listen to his interviews now versus back then, and he's just not the same person.
That is hard to say because crazier people tend to get crazier, which sounds dismissive, but it's not. But I hope it's not CTE. Like if it's CTE, it shows in different ways. But I hope it's not that. But it's definitely gonna be CTE at some point because he's taken a lot of punishment. He got ruffled by Mickey Gall, and you could see it in his knees, like they were buckling a little bit. So it's worrying, right? But I'm still gonna bask on the fact that he kicked his ass.
Yes, he did. And congratulations, Diego, for getting your first finish, I think, since 2008 or something. Or whatever it was.
In 10 or 11 years or something. It's crazy.
Real quick, and I mean like real quick, Derek Lewis or JDS?
I want to say JDS, but you never know.
I think you never know. I think it's going to look a lot like JDS versus Rothwell. I think this fight would look a lot like the JDS versus Rothwell fight.
Ooh, yeah, that makes sense.
And with that, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the Mixed Martial Arts Podcast.
Except Bilal because he wasn't here.
Fuck Bilal. Thank you all for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. I hope you guys enjoy. Remember, Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Mixed Martial Art. It's the MMAngst Podcast on Twitter, on YouTube, and at MMAngstP on Twitter. Alejandro, say goodbye. Daniel, stop trying to grab my mic.
Laters. Adiós. Nos vemos luego.
Stop trying to grab my mic. Daniel, say goodbye. Maybe they'll follow us if your cute little face tells them.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.